Hi, guys. Today we're on lesson two, speaking and listening, the skeletal system, axial bones. Our primary focus today is to be able to identify different bones within the skeletal system, as well as how the bones function inside the body. Let's preview our vocabulary words that we're going to be hearing in today's lesson. You're not expected to be able to use these words immediately, but with repeated exposure throughout the lessons, hopefully you'll acquire a good understanding of most of these words. You may also keep a unit dictionary notebook along with definitions, sentences, and or other writing exercises using these vocabulary words. As always, feel free to pause the video to answer any questions or to go back and rewatch anything you didn't understand. The first term is axial bones. Axial bones are the bones that are located down the center or axis of a vertebrate's body. Second, we have cartilage. Cartilage is the strong, elastic tissue that can be found in places like the tip of the nose and the top of the ear. Next, we have cranium. Cranium is like the skull. It's the hard bones that protect the brain and give the head its shape. Next, we have spinal column. The spinal column is the backbone. It's the series of vertebrae that extend from the neck to the tailbone. And then finally, we have structure. Structure is a form or shape, something that is made up of a number of parts arranged together. So remember, today's story is titled The Skeletal System, Axial Bones. In the previous read aloud, we talked about the skeletal system. So remember, what is the skeletal system made up of? If you said bones or the skeleton, you'd be correct. So tell me, why is the skeletal system important to the human body? The skeleton supports the human body and it protects important organs in the human body. Now, in our previous unit, the classification of animals, you learned a few ways that animals are classified. One way that scientists group animals is by whether or not they have a backbone. What are animals with backbones called again? If you said vertebrates, you'd be correct. So, what are animals without backbones called? If you said invertebrates, you're right on track. So, let me ask you, are humans and other mammals considered vertebrates or invertebrates? Ah, yes. Humans and mammals are vertebrates. Now, do you remember about exoskeletons? What are some animals that have this hard protective covering? If you named beetles and other insects or crustaceans such as crabs and crayfish, you're spot on. Now, do humans have exoskeletons? No. Today, you're going to be hearing a special term that relates to the skeletal system. Say the word axial. Axial. You can even write that on a piece of paper. If you write it on a piece of paper, it should be spelled Axial, axial. Do you hear another word or see maybe inside of axial? If you see the word axis, then that's what I'm looking for. You may have heard about this term before, especially when we learned about Earth's axis in several previous domains from earlier grades. So, can anybody tell me and explain what is an axis? An axis, remember, is an imaginary straight line that goes through the center of an object, dividing it into two parts. The axial bones are located up and down the middle of the human body. So reach around your torso and your head and describe what you feel. Listen carefully to learn more about these axial bones in the skeletal system and even predict how the axial bones work with other bones and other parts of the body as an interconnected system. Hi, everybody. Ricardo here. I've got a new riddle for you. We are a column of bones stacked on top of one another. Collectively, we make up your backbone. We begin with the letter V. What are we? Today, we're going to talk about the system that gives your body its structure, allowing it to stand on its own. If you've ever seen a building being built, you know that it has a framework that gives the building its shape and keeps it from toppling over. Your body has a similar structure. Who knows what keeps your body from collapsing? That's right, your skeleton. Your skeleton is made of bones. Bones can support a lot of weight, but they did not start out that way. Before you were born, your skeleton began as cartilage, a firm, rubbery tissue like the tough gristle on a piece of meat. Touch the top of your ear. What you feel is cartilage. The top of your ear will always be cartilage, but most of the cartilage in your original skeleton hardened and turned to bone. By the time you were born, you had about 300 bones in your body. An adult has about 206 bones. So, where did all the extra bones go? Do bones just disappear? No, they grow and change over time. Many of them join together, like those at the end of your spine called the tailbone, and the bones in your skull. Have you ever heard the saying, hard as rock? Rocks are hard due to the minerals stored inside them. The outside part of your bones becomes hard by storing minerals too. Minerals enter your body in the food you eat and the vitamins you may take. Calcium, contained in dark, leafy greens, broccoli, and dairy products, such as milk, is one of the important minerals that makes your bones as hard and strong as rock on the outside. Calcium is also needed to help blood clot or thicken when you accidentally cut yourself. Without it, your blood would be too thin for you to maintain good health. At least until you reach your full height, your bones will continue to grow with you. It's hard to imagine rock hard bones growing, isn't it? They cannot stretch or bend. So, how do bones grow? Well, bones are made up of living tissue. New bone tissue is being made all the time, working to replace worn out cells and making it possible to heal broken bones. Before you were born, your bones were solid, but many of them have become hollow over time, making them very light, yet still very strong. This is how bones differ from rocks. Rocks are solid all the way through, but bones are porous, meaning they have many tiny holes through which liquids pass. Marrow, a jelly like tissue, fills these cavities of your porous bones. Bone marrow is your body's blood cell factory. It produces blood cells to fight infection and carry oxygen throughout your body. Bones come in many shapes and sizes. Some are long and rod like with knobby ends. Some are short and look like cubes, whereas others are flat, and some have their own unique shapes. Even though there are many different kinds and sizes of bones, all human skeletons look pretty much the same. Your skeletal bones are designed in specific ways to support and protect every part of your body. There are three groups of bones that form your axial skeleton: the spine, skull, and ribs. The bones that support the center of your body are called axial bones. It is also the job of the axial bones to protect the most important organs in your body. You've already learned that taxonomists classify animals in two groups: vertebrates and invertebrates. Who remembers the group in which humans are classified? Right, we're vertebrates. Vertebrates are animals with a backbone. Your backbone, or spine, is actually more than one bone. It is a column of many bones stacked on top of one another. Bend forward and feel along the middle of your back. Do you remember those little bumps running down your back? As you may have learned in an earlier domain, these are your vertebrae, or series of bones fitted one on top of another to form the spinal column or backbone. Cartilage separates each vertebra, filling in the spaces and cushioning them from one another. Each vertebra has a hole in it, allowing the spinal cord and an important pathway for nerves to pass through it. Your spinal column protects your spinal cord, in addition to providing the main support for your skeleton. Your spine is only one part of your axial skeleton. Sit up as straight and as tall as you can. Now, look at your neighbor. Does the side profile of your neighbor's spine look straight? Probably not. Your spine is curved, looking more like the letter S than the letter I. Can you think of any reasons why it might be better to have a slight curve in your back rather than a completely straight back? If your back were as straight as a board, you wouldn't be able to bend. The shape of your spine allows you much greater flexibility. You've already heard about that fabulous tailbone at the lower end of your spine. So, what's at the other end? Use your hand to follow your vertebrae up your back and along your neck to your head. Feel how hard your head is. Who knows the name for the protective group of bones hidden inside your head? Right, your skull. Skull bones sit on top of your backbone, becoming the second part of your axial skeleton, that group of bones that support the center of your body. Your skull comprises a group of bones, 29 in all. Locked together, they protect your brain and some of your body's sensory organs. The top part of your skull, shaped like a bowl and surrounding the brain, is called the cranium. 8 thin, curved bones are tightly interlocked to form the smooth cranial helmet beneath your forehead and scalp. When you were born, these 8 bones still had gaps between them, allowing your brain to grow. Because these gaps don't close completely for about 2 years, babies have a soft spot on their heads and need very careful handling. The rest of your skull bones are facial bones, or bones in your face. Put your hands over your eyes and touch your closed lids very gently, pushing up slightly toward your eyebrows. The round openings in your skull are called eye sockets. These sockets are deep enough to protect your delicate eyes. Another hole in your skull is just the right size for your nose. Though it is sometimes closed or covered up with teeth, what is the biggest opening in your face? Right, your mouth. Cover your face with your hands and open your mouth wide. Which bone moved? Your jawbone. Your upper jaw is attached to the rest of your skull, but your lower jaw is hinged so that it can move up and down and side to side. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Quick check question. Why do you think it's important for the jaw to be able to move? Does anyone remember the 3 groups of bones that form the axial skeleton down the center of your body? The spine is one. The skull is another. The third group of axial bones is also connected to your spine. Reach behind you again and feel the bones that stretch across your back, wrapping around to the front of your body. What are these bones called? Right again, your ribs. Ribs are curved bones that form a protective cage, called the rib cage, around your heart and lungs. Ribs come in pairs. Each rib is attached to a vertebra in the middle of your back, and the sternum or breastbone in the middle of your chest. Feel your chest. Can you count the number of ribs in your rib cage? How many did you count? You have 24 ribs, or 12 pairs in all. I just can't resist sharing a joke with you right now because it fits in so well with what you're learning. Ready for it? What did the rib cage say to the heart? Give up? Got you covered. Your skull and ribs both protect vital organs, organs that you cannot live without. However, your ribs are designed very differently from your skull. Whereas your skull is made up of solid interconnected bones without spaces between, there are spaces between each of your ribs. Can anyone guess why it wouldn't work for the rib cage to be one big solid bone? Take a deep breath, as deep as you can. Now, let the air out. What happens to your chest? Do it again and notice how your chest goes in and out with each breath that you take. Solid bone around your chest would prevent the diaphragm and lungs from expanding properly with the air you breathe. The shape of the spine, combined with the spaces in between each pair of ribs, helps the human body structure to be flexible. I'll be back tomorrow to talk more about the skeleton. Today, you learned about axial bones, and tomorrow, you'll hear a term that relates to another part of your skeletal system and to your arms and legs. I'm looking forward to the next time we meet. I'll be sure to have new riddles. Now, you may have a few questions from your teacher, so be careful and try to answer them the best you can. Remember, if you need to rewind the video to watch again, feel free to do so. I hope you learned something new today.